What's up, everybody? It's Kavon with FunctionalFitnessVA, and today we got the Cossack squat for you. Cossack squat is kind of like a side lunge, but much like a split squat to a regular lunge. Once you're doing the Cossack, your feet stay put, except for a little turn and whatnot. You can do it up and down, or you can just do it side to side at the bottom, up to you. So we're going to get into kind of working on that Cossack and getting better at it, maybe stronger, more mobile, better ownership, better position, all that stuff. So I view this as a squatting pattern, not really a frontal plane movement. What I mean by that is it's not for like your hip abductors. If anything, it's a little bit more for your hip adductors. And we'll kind of talk about that in a second. So not really for the glutes. So if we're looking at like a side plank leg raise or a standing leg raise out to the side, that's your frontal plane stuff. We're getting those adductors on the inside as you're getting the squat going with the air quote working leg. Right? So you take a wide old stance, and for everyone it's going to be a little different, but needs to be pretty wide. Toes turned out, and again, slightly different for everyone. Go down towards the working side as you pull the non-working leg straight. Right? I'm pulling away from that foot with my hips, trying to elongate. The toes on that foot are going to turn up. At what point? Well, the earlier the better, kind of, but also when you're comfortable with it. And mobility and flexibility factors into that, right? So squatting down towards the working leg, pulling away from that straight leg. And again, we're calling that the non-working, but it's definitely active. What we want to do is we do this like any squat. We want to make sure that knee is tracking more or less the second toe, right? It's not bowing way out and rolling on the outside foot, and it's definitely not collapsing in. And part of that is the out turn of the foot. So again, 45-ish, but everyone can be slightly different. And then as you descend down, pushing out into it to pull your hip towards your heel. And think of it this way, as you sink down that squatting leg, it should be more or less in the same position that it would be for a goblet squat or a deep front squat or a back squat, more or less, just depending on what your back squat goals are. But it's not much different from, boom, your squat position, regular old squat position. So keep that in mind as you squat down in this Cossack, that working and bending leg is the one doing the squat. It's not doing something funky and weird, and there are funky and weird things you could do with it, dropping it down to the floor if you've got ownership of that position, sitting down, and it kind of will have to go a little valgus for that. That's not where we're at in this video, right? Now, as I just demoed there, you want to make sure as you squat down, we keep our chest up/out, not folding over. Right? Another thing with a squat, and again, I reference a goblet squat mostly with this, is you're not going to hinge over too much. A little tiny bit of a hinge to get your hip to go back because it's going towards your heel, not straight down towards your ankle. But you don't want to fold over. You're not falling over, folding over, hinging. It's a squat, right? So here, I just magically appeared a 20-inch box because if getting to full depth with your foot on the floor isn't doable, then we want to make full depth doable. Now, just watch out, make sure whatever you have your foot on, you're not pushing away too hard in it, you're pushing down into it, and you sink down into what is full depth for you. And again, ideally, that's that hip near the heel. I've raised my foot up 20 inches here, and that's pretty big, but you got to start where you can start to get full depth and really work this Cossack, and that could be a little lower. Now, I got a stack of mats here, much less. I think this is like 18 or 16 inches. Regardless, it's lower, so it's more work, and it's harder to get down, like me falling over, harder to get down into that squat, but it's a progression, right? Sinking down, pulling your hip towards your heel. We want to work lower and lower if you had to start at a higher position. For me here, it's convenient. I could lose one mat, lose a couple inches, and go back down into it. It's a progression. Work it at the top until you own it, and then progress down. Now, from here, you could also use maybe a little assistance. In my case, I got a ring, but you can hold on to a TRX. You could hold on to a doorknob. Just make sure you're facing the hinges. Anything you need to do to offset some weight, and you could work the Cossack to that once you have it kind of owned from the floor, or you're not owned, but accessible to the floor. You could do that with some offloaded weight. Now, once you're ready, you could load some weight. Here's my kettlebell, and this is the way I prefer it, especially starting out. With a kettlebell in a goblet squat position, of course, you could do it with a kettlebell or two kettlebells in a front rack. You could do it with two dumbbells in a front rack. Holding the dumbbells down, I don't really like. You can do it with a barbell on your back, barbell on a front squat. Up to you. The goblet hold is a good starting position once you're ready for weight. Again, own full range of motion at a less intense version with your front foot elevated, then own it with lower, 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 and then start to add weight on top of that if you so choose. So that's the Cossack squat. Try it out and get deep.